Toto Wolff has opened up about the departure that is going to happen 3 races from now, and the words that the Austrian chose came as quite shocking for the fans of the sport. The team principal of Mercedes was kind of relieved by the fact that Hamilton chose to leave them, and not the team announcing that he won't be part of them anymore. But does this go to show that they've lost all trust in him post 2021? And if so, is this the wrong direction that the team has chosen to move towards? It's safe to say that Mercedes and Hamilton departing at the end of the 2024 season is going to be one of the most emotional things to happen in the sport. But as the old saying goes, all good things must come to an end. However, when it comes to Mercedes, it doesn't look like the team is that worried that they won't have the services of such a legend in the sport, and even more importantly, that those services will be transferred to their fiercest rival, Ferrari. Quite the contrary, Wolff was happy that Hamilton was the one who activated the clause and decided to leave, because it saved him from a lot of tough work if he would be the one to announce that these two won't continue from 2025 onwards. This reveals greater levels of disrespect than we've seen towards Hamilton from 2022 when the ground era started, and that's something that needs to be talked about a bit more often. Does Hamilton deserve to be treated the way he is right now? After all, he won 6 drivers' championships for the team and was the driving force behind the 8 consecutive constructors' championships that the team has won ever since the turbo hybrid era started. So Wolff's statement is definitely a bit concerning. When talking about the departure, the Austrian said, "Hamilton announcing that he will leave for Ferrari has absolutely helped us, because it avoids the moment where we need to tell the sport's most iconic driver that we want to stop. I absolutely had it on my radar that Lewis would go. I just couldn't understand why he'd changed to another team before we knew if we were going to be competitive. It also didn't give me any time to react. I had to emergency call our partners, and I possibly missed out on negotiating with other drivers who had signed contracts a few weeks earlier, like Leclerc and Norris, but I liked the situation." There is one thing that Wolff is definitely right about. The move of Hamilton didn't give Mercedes enough time to think about his replacement, and obviously it may come back to bite them because they had to commit to something very bold and something that might not work as expected, promoting the young Antonelli directly to Formula One. The plan for Kimi was always to be in the sport, but it was definitely not under these circumstances. However, with Wolff admitting that he knew Hamilton would leave them at a certain point, the blame goes to him as well, because he knew very well that the engineers didn't listen to the 7-time world champion's feedback and were keener on Russell's preferences on the car. You just don't get to treat a champion as big as Lewis like that, regardless of whether you're a fan of him or not. And to see how much Ferrari have invested in him just goes to show that they know that even though he's nearing his 40s, Lewis is the man who can bring them another championship from 2025 onwards, potentially even on his first try, even though the number 1 driver as of now there is Leclerc. Nevertheless, Hamilton has hinted that he can't wait for the last 3 races to end and his tenure with Mercedes to be over with, because apart from that, the Brit has always struggled with the setup of his car and has constantly seen last-minute changes, and it always ruined his pace throughout the race. With Russell, these things happen very rarely, and that is why people have started to talk in the paddock that the preferential treatment, which was poised to happen from day one in 2024 season, as Hamilton's announcement came before he could have even tested the W15, is something that will poison the farewell tour between Mercedes and Hamilton. To top that off, we can't forget that Mercedes blocked the move of Hamilton to move to Ferrari right after the season finale in Abu Dhabi, which goes to show that they have a lot of duties that they have to carry with him in a diplomatic fashion and are keen to respect every single one of them. Wolff has also confirmed that he knew some information about Hamilton potentially leaving the team from Carlos Sainz's father, the man who saw his son being replaced by the 7-time world champion from 2025 onwards. While this is the most awkward situation that you could have found yourself in, it's still something that gave you a bit of time to react properly and avoid the backlash that you received as a team. And when talking about it, Wolff said, "So I heard the bells ringing 2 weeks before. Yeah, the old man Sainz called me up and said, this is what is happening. And then there were a few drivers' dads who rang me up that didn't before. So I thought, okay, there is something going on there. Then I sent a text to Vasseur saying, you're taking our driver. I didn't get any response, which was very unusual for Fred. He is a good friend. So yeah, I saw it coming. But in this sport, everything is business. And Wolff has shown that through his statements, as he is focused on the future of the team, which was the number one reason why the contract with Hamilton has been signed on the 1+1 deal. Furthermore, Wolff said, "There is a reason why we only signed a 1+1 year contract. We're in a sport where cognitive sharpness is extremely important, and I believe everyone has a shelf life, so I need to look at the next generation." It's the same in football. Managers like Ferguson or Guardiola, they anticipated the performance of their top stars and brought in junior players that drove the team for the next few years. We're big boys. We know that by signing a short-term contract, we would only lock Hamilton for 2024 and leave the door for 2025 for him to leave. But we also knew it could be of benefit for both sides. We couldn't commit to a longer period, and he has taken the option to exit. We totally respect that you can change your mind. There are different circumstances. Switching to Ferrari, maybe for the last gig in his career, maybe rolling the dice a little bit. I can follow that decision. Truth be told, Russell being the leader of the team is something that we'd have to first see, then believe, because even with the races that Hamilton has had in 2024, combined with the poor setups and the experimental treatment, he has just been passed by his younger compatriot after the Brazilian GP. Yes, Russell has a lot of potential in himself, but if you're going against a young bull like Antonelli, who is not willing to stop for anyone and has that Verstappen vibe about him, then there is a huge risk that you could get exposed. And Mercedes might have to think twice when it comes to who will lead the team back to the green pastures of winning races and championships. There are many who are wondering whether or not Hamilton is driving with passion right now, and the answer to that question would likely be no, because the seven-time world champion himself said that he would much rather drive the iconic MP44 of Senna than the W15 in Interlagos. Furthermore, after the race ended in Brazil, he told his race engineer Bono that if this is the last time they would race, it's a shame it ended like this, further hinting that he might just give up on the last three races, as he's had enough of the car's behaviour that he explained is like driving a plank of wood without any suspension. And one of the most controversial figures in the sport right now, Johnny Herbert, has gone on to give his take on this entire situation, stating that Hamilton is a man that is very disappointed with what is going on in Mercedes right now, so the vacation period cannot come soon enough for him. Furthermore, Herbert said, "Lewis Hamilton can't wait to get to Christmas. It is very confusing. There are times when he shows his real raw speed and then it all vanishes. How and why does that happen? That's what I don't understand. The car is a bit up and down like a yo-yo anyway, and George has similar issues. Lewis is coming to the end of his time at Mercedes and George is the future, and Antonelli is lined up for next season, so Mercedes will be favouring George and a lot of the energy and input will be coming from him." With all this in mind, do you think that Hamilton was treated unfairly by Mercedes, and more importantly, do you think that Wolff regrets letting the Brit go, even though his statements suggest otherwise? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in the latest drama revolving around Lance Stroll and Aston Martin regarding the seat of the Canadian driver, check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.